It's like Angular, nobody knows that.
Yeah.
And all the part of the middle, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. How do I do that?
Before rankings. Yeah. Okay.
Is it right back?
That
won't be
in their own way.
Oh, I will kick you. Thank you. But we were talking.
All right. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. So tonight we have Rokusek presenting. So she is a really fantastic recruiter who I've known for years now, which is kind of crazy. Huge outline for Michigan, shed some light on the St. Louis market and how to do better candidates.
Thank you. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. So I am Lisa Rokusek, as Beth said, or Elizabeth. What do you go by here?
Mostly Beth.
Mostly Beth? Okay, it gets very confusing. I work for myself as a recruiter, and I have for a good long time. I've been a recruiter for probably 20 years, and all by myself for going on 11 now. So I've seen some things. And I get to do the business the way I want to do the business, which is highly candidate-centric. In 2018, a lot of the profits in companies are flowing north, and they're not being dispersed to employees as much as I like. So I consider it sort of my, one of my favorite parts of my job is to carve money out of corporations and give it to individuals. That makes me feel good. Also, the power differential is, even though the market should be favoring candidates right now because unemployment's so low, companies still act like they've got the power. They act like they're jackwagons. And so I like to sort of provide some correction. And that doesn't mean that candidates can't act like jackwagons, because you do. And it doesn't mean that I can't act like jackwagon, because I do. But I like to minimize jackwagonry in business. So I take it really seriously to look for a mutual win. And the purpose of my talk is to take the experience that I have and the knowledge, my perspective on the marketplace, and share it with you so that you'll have more power in a job search, but also in mapping out your career trajectory as a whole, because that's really important. That's my goal. You can let me know if I accomplish that at all. I'm interested in feedback. And really, these slides, although I have made them, they're just sort of a holding point for discussion. Y'all jump in, ask questions. If you think I'm, you know, full of crap, please let me know, and we'll throw down right here. It'll be fine. So I don't think of me as a speaker, maybe a facilitator of discussion, okay? But I have a lot to say, but I want y'all to participate. And the other thing is that I work with a lot of recruiters because I partner with other companies, big staffing firms, small staffing firms, other independent recruiters. So I have a lot of knowledge and experience about recruiters. And I think recruiters are useful in your job search. You can get a job without them, but it is helpful to know how to work with them. And I train them. People pay me to help recruiters suck less. And probably we share some opinions about recruiters. So we'll talk about maybe ways of working with them effectively. Part of this is just I like to throw silly slides together. So I hope you enjoy my art. So before we jump in further, I am interested to hear what y'all think recruiters do. I mean, and you're not going to hurt my feelings if you say something negative. Tell me what you hate. But I'm serious. What do you see recruiters? What do you see them doing in the marketplace? That's not just an abstract question. I want answers.
The most helpful thing to do is you've got somebody who's really good, but isn't going to put themselves on the different job boards. Recruiters can get to those people. Obviously, recruiters are very aggressive, and often able to expect those people out of a situation they may not like. Find a gig that more fits that person. So I feel like they serve a good purpose in that regard. Somebody like I've hired people in the past where I felt like the recruiter did an excellent job of connecting the right people where couldn't find anybody else.
Right. I mean, like we are offering access to networks, access to people, leveraging, possibly helping candidates be enthused about opportunities that maybe they wouldn't hear about. So we're a source of information in the marketplace and a source of candidates for companies. But yeah, I mean, we can also be obtrusive and ridiculous and idiotic and, so do you
I've been in this for time, but I think at the end of the day, it just sat on their book. So they have no interest in candidates being like a situation where they need little help, but at the end of the day, they are just saying that clients is this.
See, that is, I think, sometimes when one of the things that I want to help you do is to figure out good recruiters to work with and recruiters maybe aren't going to be helpful to you. And one of the things I think you should look for are people that are going to have information, and we'll talk about that, and that might shape how you're perceived or use their influence to benefit you, because those are very important things. If they have no influence, they can't use it though, right?
Yeah, I think most of the recruiters are very scared to lose the account with the client. So whatever client dictates, yeah, really is also an employee to the companies.
Yeah, those are just people that are pushing paper through.
Yeah,
well,
they're also the employees of the companies kind of, because they're also acting on companies. So candidates, it's like, okay, you don't like this candidate A, will place candidate B, then you place candidate C. It goes on and on.
Well, and we'll talk about that. I want to talk also about the sort of how employment is structured, okay? Sometimes I think they think there's contracting, there's employee roles, there's contract to hire, and we don't always know the difference. So there's really only a few ways you can work in the US for companies. You can be a consultant, you can be a contractor, that those words mean the same. You can be a direct hire employee, you can be a contract to hire employee, so you're a contractor and then you convert. And you can hang up your own shingle in your own company and have clients. And you might think, who here knows the difference between a 1099 and a W-2? Everybody? What? Tell me one. Tell me what it is.
W-2 would definitely be something that's direct hire. You follow different rules. Like there's some things you can't do. 1099 being, I perceive it as just a period contractor who's kind of hung up their own shingle. I guess there's different rules for how to engage.
Actually, I would say that the biggest difference is that a 1099 is an independent contractor. Like I won't even work with a 1099 person. I require independent contractors to be incorporated. W-2s, W-2 employee, you can be a contractor. You're actually an employee of a staffing firm or a company that is a vendor to a company, okay? And you're also a W-2 employee if you're a direct hire employee. The company is paying an employer's contribution of taxes, but these are different. Like if you're 1099, you're on the hook for the whole tax burden and you have no benefits. And these are important to understand that all of these are different, because when you're talking to people about jobs, and you might say, I don't care, I'm just going to get a job. it's amazing when you are looking at opportunities, how much you need to know to be able to ask the right question. You might say, why does it matter to me? Is it lagging? I'm waiting on my favorite slide. Come on, honey. Good. No, I don't. If I am going to work with a consultant, I require like an independent consultant, okay? That they don't want to be my W-2 employee. I require that they are incorporated.
You already have a corporation.
Yeah, they have one. Well, see, this is important. If you're going to be a consultant, you could work for me as a consultant, but you would be my employee that I'd place at a client site, okay? But if you wanted to be an independent contractor, I would require that you create your own business entity. We would have a business relationship, and you would go to the client site. But if you're just a 1099, you're at risk for things like co-employment violations. You probably don't carry the necessary liability insurance. There's a lot of risk, and the risk goes to the client too. And my clients don't appreciate it if I pass risk along to them. They want me to take care of all of that. So that's why we talk about this stuff. And for you, when you're looking at, say, a contract opportunity versus a direct hire opportunity, you need to have the questions to ask so that you know that your needs are going to be met. Like, because not all staffing companies are the same. They all handle benefits differently. So you need to make sure that, you know, what their expectations are and what your expectations are align so that you can make sure you're being taken care of. The understanding how all these systems work in employment matters. I mean, it's not it's sort of in the background, but it really does matter because a lot of times train wrecks happen because people have different assumptions. So, and this is also a really good way to vet recruiters, because when you're asking them about their clients and what their expectations are, and is this contract to hire or is it a straight contract, and what's the duration, and you know, what are they looking to do? If they don't have any answers for you, they and don't know or don't want to share what they know, I'd give them the boot. I mean, because you want to only work with people that are going to open up opportunities that you haven't heard of, or that can add some value. And they could add value by giving you information, or they could add value by helping you present yourself in a way that they know will get traction from the company. Does that make sense? And so, I mean, you can't take charge of your career if you're in the dark. So you really need to empower yourself to ask those questions. Does that make sense?
I have one question. Is that if the company says that, okay, you are going to be hired for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So are they obligated to do 6 months?
Are they required? Well, we work in a state that's right, you know, I mean, you could be fired for any reason at all. So it's another thing to ask is if the only job security you have is that you're fulfilling what's expected. But even then, you could be doing a great job and something goes pear-shaped and you lose your job. So there's no guarantees. But you can ask what the expectations are. You can say, you know, if something goes wrong, do I get some kind of notice period? I mean, those are fair questions. I always make sure that people that I'm working with know that there's very little we can control. We could walk across the street and get hit by a bus, right? That's life. But, you know, I don't let companies fire people without cause with notice. That's in my contract.
Yeah, again, that is a very equitable question.
It is always, but I mean, there's very little anyone can control.
Like you're in a project, then there is always the politics within the company you are not aware of.
That is part of the challenge of contracting, sure.
So and you become part of it. You get affected with it.
Well, let me stop you because I don't want to get too bogged down on this. You can talk with any staffing firm that's doing contract roles, and you can get a sense of how they're going to treat their people. No one's going to guarantee you a job, though. I can't guarantee. A company could go out of business. But you can ask them, you can get a feel for how much they value the people, and you can see what notice period is customary, things like that. But that's a risk. But that's a risk with any job you take. Because if you go to a company and you go to work for them and expectations are misaligned, you're not going to have a job. So that's always there, even if it's a direct hire role. There's no more risk in contracting than direct hire. Sometimes it's easier for people to let contractors go, but really your job security either way is how good you are, the quality of the work that you're doing. So this is truth, I think. The whole process, oh man,
I know it's slow.
you not tell me to practice. Oh, come on now. All right, so when this next slide comes, we'll know. There it is. The whole process of hiring is broken. Looking for a job, looking for people, interviews, job descriptions, a flaming dumpster fire. We all know this. No one will debate it. You know it. I know it. My clients know it. So that's really frustrating. All right. And I feel your pain because remember, I'm the one that only gets paid when I'm successful placing people. So I'm very motivated and I'm dealing with this broken system. Breaks my heart every day. The only thing you can do is look at it with realism and do your very best. And one of the most important pieces will pop up here in a minute. 2018 is a year of super heavy cognitive load. Like we're tired. Our brains are tired. That's my favorite picture. Isn't that disturbing? It's very true. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. There's a lot of uncertainty on the global stage. This going on, and that makes communication really difficult. So one of the important things that you can do as a candidate is to realize that and position yourself, shape your communication with recruiters and hiring managers, make it a certain thing very, if you're the calm in the storm, and if your words are congruent with your actions, then you're gonna be like a recruiter's favorite candidate. And you're gonna be the candidate that hiring managers wanna hire. I'm not kidding about that. I can't stress that enough. People answering emails and doing what they say, it doesn't happen right now. It's like, it's crazy. I know you see it at work, your work. It's nuts. So right now, the market is unstable also in the hiring process. Openings go, they get put on hold. Communication, people go dark. Decisions are flaky. There's no feedback. So you have to be the one when you're engaged in these conversations, when you're in these processes, if you can be the chill person that's, doesn't fly off the handle, it's help you go a long way. And you might get the information that you need. So it's not fair. It's unfair, but it's important. So job descriptions. Bye, baby. Go away. You're disturbing and we want you gone. Job descriptions are worse than I've ever seen them. They are fuzzy, laundry list, possible desires jumbled up in a frenzy of buzzword bingo. And there's like no rhyme or reason. They don't say anything about the business needs. It's just, I'm not the only one seeing this, I'm sure, right? So when I look at a job description and I have the opportunity to talk to the hiring manager, I can usually pull that information out. And that's very important because people need to know that stuff. Y'all look at job descriptions. I mean, what goes through your mind when you see these abominations?
Usually that I'm very qualified. I don't have a master's degree or 72 years of experience in a framework that's been around for 2 years.
Right? I mean, they don't even make sense. Or, yeah, necessary skills, none of them are necessary. It's all up for debate. The right person won't have the key skills. So, and that makes it tough. I mean, when you're saying, I'm going to look for a new job, what do? Do you pick a keyword that describes you, then see what's out there? Is that literally what y'all do? Tell me. I'm curious.
So all of my jobs have me. So usually it's through friends or people you know.
That's the best, right?
Or through encouragement through recruiters who get.
Because we're like piranhas. Circle. We're like, hey, are you ready to talk to me yet? The good ones at least try to have boundaries that they respect. So you're going out and doing keyword searches, because I just can't think that would be useful anymore.
I've done keyword searches, but less about the job description, per se, and more to just find companies that might have jobs in particular focus areas. My kind of assumption, so to speak, is that even if the job description isn't there, maybe tomorrow it will be there, and I'm more interested in learning about the company itself, so that should an opportunity arise, I already know what they're like. I already know if I want to apply or not.
Yep, that's smart. That's smart. And you're building some relationships probably in your conversations, which is really important. I think that's the best way to go. But that isn't, it still isn't how we hire. Because when we write a job description, I have not figured this out. I'm like, your job description could be a sentence. That would be more helpful. Like a sentence of what you want to happen. Okay, can you tell me that? Why are you hiring this person? But that's never part of it. It's very strange.
Well, the other thing I often see is that apparently whoever's writing these job descriptions, they are even at all acquainted with the technologies and stacks they're talking about. They seem to think that the technology or the programming language or the environment is the most important thing. Whereas what I have found over and over and over again in my own career and the people that I've hired, I'm way more interested in someone with proven ability to learn quickly and apply what they know to whatever task I give them. Because the only constant, at least in software development, is change, usually rapid change. So frankly, if you're really good at a short laundry list of technologies, so what? The technologies I'm using today are very likely.
They're not the same for next year. Exactly.
And I'm way more interested in someone who can solve problems effectively than I am that they're really good with all.
Or Angular. Well, and that's the
Angular
thing.
will never, ever be.
Well, in this room for sure. Okay. And next week I talk to React people. I will switch that up. Just kidding.
Can I put in one other thing before I want to still dominate?
Yes, dominate, Bill, dominate.
Something that's specifically said that I have found also over and over again, and it's a difference between the way that dudes approach job descriptions and the way that ladies approach jobs.
Oh, I was going to get there.
So if you're going to get there, I'll go.
Thank you. The thing is, and this is something, I mean, y'all dudes will apply to anything, and women tend to be a little bit more exacting. And trend generalization grossly. And I actually agree with that approach. If you fit a few of the things and you're interested in the company, don't be afraid to apply. Okay? But if you're missing some, or if the language, if the tool set doesn't match, like your stack doesn't exactly match, expect that you're going to have to do the heavy lifting to educate the people for why you should be considered. I mean, and it isn't always the tech stack. It might be the type of testing tool they're using. I mean, people are going to rule you out for the dumbest things. I mean, because the people that are looking at your resume, often the first glance, are not the technical people, and they've given very narrow marching orders, and it's unfortunate that they rule out people instead of ruling them in. So that's part of what you're going to do as you look at job descriptions. And yes, there we are.
So great.
It's Halloween.
Thanks for the slide.
This is my mood. I wanted to share my nightmares with you. So when you decide you're going to present yourself an opportunity and dust off your resume, a lot of people spend a lot of freaking time on their resumes in the wrong places. They're like all worried about their fonts or the perfect summation or frames. Don't use frames. Don't use tables. Just text it up. It's going into a database, probably. It's going to get mangled. So, yes, pretty fonts are beautiful. I don't care.
Don't include this photo.
Don't include this. Include a photo, actually.
Now I have a question here.
Yeah?
The slide you mentioned constantly in blocks. Blocks is from Facebook.
Oh, no.
Look, change. So the thing is that I want people to think of their resume as something they're going to change. A resume is a thought argument that's going to get you a conversation. That's all. It is not a summary of your history. It is, you are going to tailor that puppy so that it will get you a conversation. You're not going to lie. You're going to tell the truth, but you're going to, from the job description, as bad as it is, there's probably going to be a narrative that you can pull. It might be between the lines. It might be about what the recruiter tells you you need to focus on, or what a friend that you talk to in your research tells you what's up. Or you can look and see what the company's trying to do, and you're going to get a sense of what's up. Are they doing an e-commerce implementation? Are they upgrading software to a new rewrite? Whatever. You're going to kind of have a clue, and you're going to focus, and you're going to position yourself as much as you can with that in mind. And that's going to change. And the longer you're in this career, you're going to fit different things. You're not always be just an Angular developer. I mean, the whole world of technology and software and business is changing. The way we look at ourselves as we automate more software, you know, system administrators don't really have jobs much anymore, right? Some of software might. I mean, we're getting rid of huge layers of jobs that we always had. So you need to get used to thinking about yourself and pivot in relationship to the jobs that you're going after, and use the language that they're talking about. Does that make sense? And, you know, people get attached because we put a lot of effort into these documents and we're proud of them, but just don't. Just realize it's just to get you an at-bat. And that picture really grow creepier the longer I look at it. So within that really terrible job description is a very real need. You tailor your resume. You're going to position yourself as the solution that what they're looking for, and send over. And you realize that the person that's reading it is probably not technical. You may even have to have a couple conversations with people that aren't technical. It's awful. You might talk to people like me. Terrible. I try not to waste folks' time. But that same concept of positioning is going to be something that you will do throughout the interview process. Because a lot of people, once they get an interview, they're like, well, I'm going to go tell you about myself. That will not get you a job because they don't care about you. I mean, they do. They'll say they do too. But what they really care about is what you can do for them in solving the need they have. And so you have to figure out what that need is. And that may change from the job description to the interview. And you have to keep listening. Does this make sense? I mean, I spend a lot of time coaching people, and when they go to an interview, usually they're like, I'm ready to talk about me. And I'm like, no. Be ready to listen and then talk about you in relation.
So actually I have a follow-up question on what you said. So haven't they read the resume that you can do this?
Say that again?
You already mentioned in your resume, you can do this. You have a need for it.
Mhm.
That's how they're matching you and calling for the interview.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah. Then should we have no pitch in saying that, oh, I do this and that? Already it's there, right?
Well, but okay, they're seeing a resume. A resume is a one-way document, okay? It's you presenting to them. When you're in an interview, you're going to be able to ask questions of them to further pull out from them what their needs are. I mean, we tend to make a lot of assumptions about, we think we know what people want, or we think we know what will get us the job. But in an interview, that's the exact wrong thing to do. You should be asking more questions in an interview and listening to the answers and then positioning yourself. Because you wrote the resume without knowing anything more than that horrible job description. So that's what I'm saying.
I with him, he said that it is not anything different because the needs are changing. So I think if you do that, you can grasp the new things pretty faster.
Well, that's one of the things. But another thing that they're trying to understand in an interview is how well you're going to work with people, how well you hear information that's being passed to you, how well you can function on a team and produce results. And so that's actually what's happening in an interview too. They're getting a sense of, can I work with this person? Are they asking questions and listening to what I say and then giving me a response that makes sense based on what I said? Or are they just ignoring everything I'm saying? Because there are plenty of people that will act like they're listening in an interview, and then they'll just regurgitate whatever they had rehearsed before when they walked in. Don't do that. You won't get the job ever. So that's what I'm talking about. Do you see what I mean? It actually ties in with what Bill said, because it's not about the tech stack. It's about the skills that people use in solving problems, and empathy and attention and intention are going to be as important as the specific technical skills. Does that make sense?
Also, it becomes a huge shock. Some people don't actually tell the truth.
Ah! Sorry, that I sounded bad.
That can be for a short term, long term they can.
But that's
You
the interview
made
process.
so long.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I
yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree with you. But oh my God, I wish it were not as long as it sometimes seems to be. Also, once people are hired, it's often very difficult to unhire.
Yeah.
As much as we complain about, right to work states and all that, especially outside the U.S., if you hire the wrong person, you may be stuck with them.
You made a commitment, baby. So, well, it is, people don't often, it's not that easy always. It depends. I mean, there's repercussions if people are firing people. So what I'm saying is the soft skills, very important, listening, very important. And another thing I'd like you to keep in mind is that you're not going to get the whole picture from the job description. You're not going to get the whole picture from what someone's able to tell you about a position, or what your friend has told you about working at a company, or what your great uncle can tell you because he was there 25 years ago, okay? So what I'm going to encourage you to do if you're in a job search is gather information to make good decisions. And the only information that, it's your information, and question your own assumptions. Because a lot of times our preferences, or what we think we want, end up not being what we want. And the only way we figure that out is by going through these processes. So question your assumptions. And a lot of my time as a recruiter is spent asking people why they're making the decisions they make. Not to twist their arm, but to just have them clarify in their minds. Like someone will say, I want to go on that interview. And 3 days later, I don't want to go on that interview. And I'm like, what has happened? You liked them. They're like, I'm very cranky today. I had a bad day. Does that impact your career search? Let's back this up. But you can do that for yourself, right? You're like not gonna, I'm not saying that you should go on every interview or talk to every recruiter, but challenge your assumptions.
But my question is why not? Every interview is like going to school, attending the class.
Yeah, but you want to put much time into stuff that you're not going to take. So vet your prospects. Be choosy where you put your time, but don't assume you know things you don't know. Like question those assumptions. Because I can't tell you how many times I've urged someone or we've talked things. They're like, that sounds like a terrible job. And I'm like, I think you should look at it. And they'll be like, all right, it sounds okay. All right, phone call, fine. All right, I'll go to the interview. And then they're like, that's the best job ever. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm pretty good at what I do. So it's that kind of thing. It's important. Just check yourself. There's something I like to keep in mind, contempt prior to investigation. And a lot of this is you gathering information from wide sources that you don't know. So very important for you to vet your sources, develop a trusted network of people, ask questions, because the better your intel.
Parts of the job search that this really applies to? Is this like being biased against companies or? Yeah,
I mean, like people will say, that's a terrible company. And they're talking about a company that's, got 40,000 employees. And I'm like, really, tell me more about that. They're like, well, I just heard it's a terrible place to work. And I'm like, really? Okay. Well, it might depend on who you're working with and who you're working for. And small companies are like families. They don't have the buffers sometimes that can keep, like if you've got some dysfunction, it can run in small company. Woo! I mean, if it's great, it's great. But if it's tiny, woo, bad. But you have to check it out. But larger companies, you'll have bubbles. So don't assume the whole place is the same. Check it out. That's.
And also, one thing I could say along with that is when everyone's very different and different things bother different people differently. So certain things that other people might find as, oh, I really don't like that, you might be fine with, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
I've had a job previously that most people would rave about, but it just didn't really fit with me. And my current job is probably not the job that a lot of people would have thought I would take, and it's actually turned out really well because I'm looking at different things maybe a lot of other people are. So.
That's right. No, that's a perfect summary. I mean, and you have to find these things for yourself. Sorry, profanity. So this is an important thing. This is where, I tell my clients that they'll pay more for people they hired through me than they would pay if they hired them directly. And they look at me and they say, that's a strange thing for you to say. You're trying to earn my business. And I'm like, well, that's because I will really showcase their value a lot better. You'll pay them more because I'll get better offers for them, but you'll be happy doing it because you'll know why you're doing it. And so no matter how you're getting a job, you need that. You need to get the very best offer you can. And it's painful to negotiate. I don't care who you are. It's never easy. It's something that you want and you feel like you're going to blow it. So, and I negotiate. It's easier for me to negotiate for other people than it is for me to negotiate for myself. But I have learned, I mean, even when I'm doing it for people, sometimes it's challenging. And so I hear people say a lot, they've heard someone got paid X, and so they want X, right? This is, oh my gosh, I heard some Angular front-end guy got paid $120,000, so I want that now. And I'm like, well, it really does depend on how well you interview. This is all a value proposition. And that is one of the reasons why when we're talking about money, that's really hard not to look at, isn't it? In my eyes, when we're talking about money, which is a difficult thing to talk about in software, we have all kinds of disparity. The same things are coming up with women and men and white dudes and non-white dudes, and there's issues. We're starting to talk about money, which is good, and we're trying to correct imbalances, which is good. But it comes down to people being able to have knowledge, to be able to communicate their value proposition, and to not be afraid of asking for what they feel they're worth. A lot of times women, we just second guess ourselves. Not all men don't, plenty of people do. But the thing that you have to get comfortable with is being uncomfortable. When you're working with a recruiter, I mean, have you guys negotiated with a recruiter? Do you find them to add any value? No? Yes? Like, how to talk about money with recruiters?
Yeah, so what if they submit us to the client? We just give the rate and
Well, that's easy for contract stuff, right? And they'll often, see, here's the thing. Rates fluctuate. Rates and salaries fluctuate. You're going to have to be able to talk about what you want and hopefully talk about your minimum. Nobody ever turned down a job because it paid too much. But, you know, if you're talking to a company and they ask you on your first interview what you want to make, that's an uncomfortable conversation. You don't know. Yes?
Sorry, on a tangent with that. So in New York, I forget if it's New York City specifically or the state.
New York State.
They banned
Asking what you make. Yes.
Is that true in Missouri and elsewhere? Is it just New York?
No. But what I tell my clients is that quit asking what people make, okay? And quit asking what it'll take to make a move, because people don't know what it's going to take to take a job until they know what the job is. Holy crap, that's a stupid interview question.
So in my job search, a lot of times people ask, what's your minimum rate, whatever, market salary, and for me personally, I really don't care. I got so many people that would love to talk to you.
Yeah, no doubt. Can I get your name?
Well,
Just kidding.
And my reasoning is that I have a very company culture that I'm trying to find, and I know that when I find them, they're going to see the value that I bring. They're going to pay, might not be for 6 or 12 months. I'll have to show them that. But I have found a lot of, it doesn't really seem to motivate people.
No, they get confused.
Yeah.
Most people will be confused by that. I feel what you're saying. I wholeheartedly support it. And in fact, I work that way, right? I'm like, oh, let's value other things. But the truth is, as much as we love what we do, we're all also doing it to support our lifestyle and family, and to sometimes put kids through college or pay for our parents' medical issues or rehab a 175-year-old house. Sorry, that was personal. The house ate all my money. So you have to be able to have the conversation. And the thing is that you can't confuse people, because if you confuse people in a job search, throw your resume in garbage. They just do. They're like, I don't understand this person. Whoops, you don't fit. I'm like, but they were perfect. You are an idiot. And it doesn't. So you have to like play the game enough so that you could get the traction to find out if those places are going to be worthwhile. And that's, that's a little, we can talk. I'm serious. But does that make sense? But when you're at that negotiation stage, this is the time that you have the power, okay? This is the one time you know an offer's coming. Man, do not get that power up. Push yourself into that uncomfortable place. And if you're not a little queasy about what you're saying, you're probably not asking for enough. And I say that to women a lot, but dudes too. Y'all get to have a good life. I like carving out money for dudes too. It's very important. Companies keep too much money. So, you sometimes have to like rehearse the phrases that are going to come out of your mouth so that you don't immediately sort of qualify them or apologize. I'm not kidding. 20 years, I still have to bite my tongue. So you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to make them uncomfortable. But I like to talk about a spoonful of sugar. You can ask them to recalibrate their salary scale if they want you, if you make them feel like you're worth it. And you can do that by saying, I'm very excited to work here. You might need to sweeten that offer a little bit. I really want this to be a long-term thing. I can't wait to work here. And then, you're giving them a tough thing, but you're sweetening it. Those are my phrases. I use them all the time. It's very helpful. They really want to make a long-term commitment. You want to take the job. So you've got to have, and that's the other thing. If you're working with a recruiter, they're going to do all this heavy lifting for you. Because it's better for them to get mad at us than mad at you. But I'm happy to coach you through these things if you're doing it on your own.
Like if you think you're asking for a lot, for your stretching, and they agree to it.
And you probably undershot. Here's the thing. It's not all just salary, though. Be creative. Because you can ask for paid time off, you can ask for flexible hours, you can ask for working from home, you can ask for a stipend to cover training. The sky's the limit. This is the one time you can ask for anything. Read the room, though. If they're starting to get all thundercloud faced, back off a little.
2 quick questions, and if this is going to come up later in the presentation, we can hold off on it. But kind of follow up on maybe what you're asking. So first question is, so in terms of recruiters, is it correct that most recruiters work with specific companies?
Well, we can touch on this. There's internal recruiters who work for the company that employ them, okay? And then there's people like me, who work with a variety of companies, a variety of industries, working on all kinds of stuff. So, and you can work with both of them at the same time. You can work with multiple recruiters to cover what you want. Again, this is all about you. You just have to be able to keep it from driving you nuts.
Yes, rephrase this. So, but on the recruiter side, Is it the correct assumption that they have specific clients that they're hiring for, or they just roll their companies, and once they find it, it's like, oh, we're going to place with them, and then they get in contact with the companies? I'm guessing it's probably the former and not the latter.
It is the former, except by come up with someone that has specific skills that might be a really good fit for a company that maybe I haven't talked to, or that I know that company is hiring that kind of person, whatever that is. Then I might open up a new client, or I might just go to a previous client.
My second question, and I'm guessing the answer to this is none, but what rights do you have when working with a recruiter, for example, with discrimination?
Well, recruiters should not break the law. Recruiters can be sued. It would be harder, though. It is true. Recruiters should hold to ethical standards that don't do things like that. I mean, we're a business, so. But you have rights. You have tons of rights. You should control where your resume goes. You should control where any of your information goes. No one should send you anywhere without your express permission. And people that don't know enough about the company to give you a warm, fuzzy feeling about their capacity to represent you should get a boot. So, does that help?
Sure.
Those are rights.
Yeah.
You should be able to say, I don't want you to rep me at that company, and find somebody else. That's icy, but if you're going to do that midstream, you might need to talk about that. That's a thing. But have you had bad experiences? We could talk offline.
Not myself. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, like, if you are on the phone, they show up in person, and suddenly they're not interested in recruiting you.
Mm-hmm.
Or else, even if they are interested in recruiting you, but the client doesn't offer some of the culture, so to speak, that might be accommodating, whether it's like you're a mother and you need a place to give you maternity leave or even paternity leave, or
we are limited in those regards by what our clients offer. And I tend to be someone that looks for clients that are trying to open and offer more accommodation and are trying to deal with their issues of systemic stupid, you know, that then listen to me as slap around. But we're limited companies. But if you can't assume that the reason a recruiter suddenly goes dark and doesn't return your calls is because they've decided. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, and there's no excuse for this, but they're human and are juggling a lot of balls. So if you suddenly don't hear from them, or jobs go away, or jobs change, that's real, that happens. But they should just hunt you. Like, that's weird. And I'd be like, what's up? Give me some feedback. We're not really good at that, though, as an industry, and I know that's the thing.
So following your negotiation thing, you were saying, you know, is that applicable to contractors? The things you mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, all contractors are not going to be able to ask for things like, you know, every staffing firm is different. Paid time off, stipends. I mean, you can ask. Someone will do what they can. If somebody's working for me as a contractor and they're, you know, making me a lot of money, I'm gonna figure it out. I want them to take my job and stay. We'll figure it out. Limited. It's, you know, I can't offer the same benefits another company does, but it's worth a conversation. What I'm trying to do is say, you've got power, you should use it, and you should be creative.
So maybe you can ask for the health benefits.
Well, many of them offer it. They're all different. You always get into those specifics and compare and contrast. That's always there. Were you going to ask a question?
Yes. So should you start at reach out back to the dark?
Yes. You have the power. I mean, you don't, like, here's the thing. There's a line, right? You don't want to be too obnoxious. People will drop balls, and don't let someone else drop the ball without explaining something, cost you a job that you're interested in. And if they're not getting in touch with you and you know about a job and you hear it's still open, I mean, you might have another recruiter that you like better. You might give them a call. Hey, we often work the same companies, right? I mean, this is a strange ecosystem out here. And you don't want to be a jerk and you don't want to be unethical, but if somebody is not returning your phone calls and you're aware of a job that you want, you have not cut a deal here. They're not repping you.
Well, in this particular instance,
Mm-hmm.
there's a pool of people's offshore.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to seem like a pest, but it would have been interesting. It would have fit into my career again.
Yeah. Well, I can all circle up and say, hey, what happened? Can we do a debrief? Make sure to keep it very non-emotional, right? And if people drop all, they're off defensive. So make sure that you don't send a message of, you know, trying to paint them in a corner. But I mean, look, all human. We make mistakes. But I do believe that most of the time, most people want to close that circle. And something happened, and you get to have feedback. I think that's an important thing to look for. I tell people, if you don't hear from me, and you're expecting to hear from me, ping me. You can text me, you can tweet me, you can call me, you can instant message me, whatever, you know, but it's two-way street here. Don't fester in frustration. Reach out. So
you know, I think you explained it very nicely. But my thinking is this: if I don't like B, I do B. If I don't like B, I go to C.
I'm not tracking you.
So I'm not saying that if somebody not come.
Sure. But if you can't get information, if you can't get feedback why they were passed over, you get to ask for it. You can work with anybody you want. Okay, well that's cool. If you don't care, then that's cool. You don't have to call them. But if somebody wants that, they have the power.
In this, you were actually quite interested in this particular position. I'm very, I will not hesitate to get back in touch with someone, because usually what happens is they go, oh, thank God you got back in touch with me.
That's right. I mean, it is a relief. I forgot.
And literally 2 weeks ago, I had a long-running, like, intermittent conversation with some folks, and I hadn't heard from the guy in a while. I'm like, well, what's actually going to happen? So I sent an email. And when I got back, an email that said, so-and-so is no longer with this company. Forwarding your message. They weren't there anymore. That's the reason that conversation.
Right. That's how balls go dropped.
Next person and have the deal made.
So yeah, keep that in mind. It's not all about you necessarily, and that's why the follow-up. Yeah.
I think too, and good is valuable, right? So maybe this job they hired somebody else. It was just fast moving or whatever. But like reaching out and saying, I really did love that position. If one like it, like up again,
keep me in mind.
Because if you're just being like, then you will be in the forefront of their mind. And like leaving somebody with a positive impression of you will never.
That is
especially if that recruiter is working at that company and then shifts to a better company that remembers you.
Or look, how long have we all known each other? A long time. Moving around different places. I mean, here's the thing. What you want is to develop relationships with people that you trust, and that you trust to represent you in a way that do what you want, and that, you know, prevents train wrecks. But you're part of that equation. It's not just the recruiter. It's a two-way street. So yeah, and that goodwill and that memory, that's a very important thing.
And I was going to ask you, because the focus around is like resume and then getting to the interview. I'm betting at some point there's going to be like 12 slides in a row on building network or something. Because
one slide, and it's next. So the thing that it's so distracting. It's funny though. It's fun. Someone would have told me when I started my career. I mean, this is common sense. I didn't need to be told. I'm a little slow sometimes. But every contact you make, you can nurture that. And it's really important. You don't know where one interaction is going to be valuable another time. And as we're out in the garden, tending our gardens of our career and interacting with people, some of which we enjoy and some of which are jack wagons we want to light on fire, because there's plenty of that, you really have to keep that in mind, that you don't know where they're going to pop up. And remembering to try to do a kind thing to people or people is really a good practice. It is amazing how often that ends up being something that just changes your life later. Being a jerk also can change your life in unexpected ways. But we have all kinds of tools now that you can keep track. I do not recommend putting all your eggs in the LinkedIn basket, okay? That's your data, not yours.
did you got a LinkedIn?
At one point, I was the 9th most connected woman on LinkedIn. Yeah. That and $5 would buy me a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Got me a lot of really weird chat messages. But, I mean, I use it. It's a cesspool. It's horror. It's a train wreck in a badly run company with horrible UX, UI, everything. But it's the deal, right? You have to play in it. But that's your data. Farm that stuff on your own little on your iPhone. That's what I do. I mean, I'm not the most organized person. But this is really a thing. Build that network, connect with people, nurture your network, and use it to help other people, and they'll help you. And once I was going to the grocery store, and some jackwagon yelled at me. I mean, he yelled on the crosswalk, right? And I mean, you stop. You're supposed to stop. I'm the pedestrian in the crosswalk. He almost hit me. And I was just like this. He's yelling at me, profanity, just cranky. And the next morning we had a meeting. Neither of us knew that it was us. I recognized him, and I think he recognized me. I did not say a word. I did not place that man. I did not like that man. But I didn't burn that bridge. But, I mean, you just never know. So, if you can avoid it, don't be a dick. It's really good. Does that help with the networking?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was going to build on that, not the don't be a dick part yet. But as a short example of that, years and years ago, I was based in St. Louis, but I was working for a company out of California. We had a project at that company that was based on Flex, which, if you're not familiar with it, Flex wrote on top of the Flash virtual machine. So, I learned some ActionScript and I learned that stuff. Didn't fall in love with it, but I was interested enough that I ended up attending, very briefly, a user meeting here in town that was the Flex and Flash user group, and met someone there who happened to overhear in a conversation about my experience with Perl. And months after I'd stopped attending, he remembered, oh, that guy that used to come to that meeting briefly, he knew Perl, and he had a friend who was the head of a local company that had an old system that was written in Perl, and they were having real trouble finding anybody to work with it. So he put the two of us in touch. He was looking to hire an employee, and I was not at all interested in being anybody's employee, so I said, no, let me know if you need any help in the future. And I forgot about it. But I made the contact, had a good conversation. A year later, I happened to see a job posting, same job posting for this person. A year later,
Now they're open to contract.
Still trying to find someone to help them. So I called the guy back up, and I'm like, look, I'm still even less interested in it now, but clearly you still need help. Can I help? And the guy's like, yeah, come on in, let's talk. And I ended up getting a contract with this person that ended up being my first Angular job, because I helped take that Perl-based system and convert it into Ruby on the back end and JS on the front end, which led to, as I finished up that project, eventually making contact with the folks at Oasis who do Angular Bootcamp, because I had made a name for myself in Angular. And the point is connection, literally spanning multiple years, because several steps along the way, I decided not to be a dick and go, yeah, let's talk.
Let's talk. This is not a transactional thing. People want to turn this into a transactional thing. It's not. Your career is not a transaction. It's your life. And the human piece is always gonna overshadow the rest of it.
So if we're talking about networking now, a question about networking, or are you going to talk about networking?
No, that's good.
So when I lived out in San Francisco, one of the big networking things was this group called Mission Cycling, where people have very expensive bikes and ride them on the weekends, and knew how everything came together, but so many of the techies were in it. And then more recently, I'm asking a different, I guess, friend, acquaintance about, how to network, and he was saying play player unknown battlegrounds. And those anecdotes are meant to be somewhat representative of networking is not really through the literal technical aspects of your job. It's oftentimes very social.
Yes.
If you want to get back to those little example, it's like if you're in business, you play golf. How much do you, I guess, compromise your personal interests and things in order to network? Whether it's, I'm going to start playing this violent video game just because, that's how the software programmers meet each other.
That's gross. If you hate it, do you like the game?
At my previous company, they would play a different game in the office and be screaming while working. So,
well, that's a personal choice, right?
Now where it's just like, I'll just put my headphones and ignore it, but not the best solution.
Amazing variety of ways.
You don't have to compromise anything. right? We're meeting people here today. There's a room of people, human beings. I would love to give you all my cards, not for, like, oh, she wants to place me and make money off me. No, it's just I could help you. I mean, this is just open and connect with people in the grocery store. Don't run them over in the jaywalking. I mean, but if you're just present and connect with people, you're going to hear about jobs, or you're going to think of a way to be helpful to them. And that's networking. It's not, can I have your business card? Can you give me a job? Want to buy a chicken? I mean, this is not how it works. That's how a lot of people do it, right? Want to buy a chicken? Can I have your card? What, are you hiring somebody? I'm selling something. I mean, that's not it. Be a person.
Networking is a dirty word to a lot of people, and I actually try to avoid using it a lot of the time because people have a very specific idea of what
Versions. Yes.
And like some of the feeling that I get from what you're talking about, networking is like this artifice, this thing I'm trying to get one over on somebody. But in reality, what networking is being friends.
And curious. Be curious about their experience and pondering, is there something I can do to make your life a little easier?
I like mentored some things and like met people who were doing other mentoring things, and then you have a network of people who are in a position of leadership, right? And so that's really cool. And so I think like whatever you can do to pay it forward, and like in an artificial like I'm hoping to get something out of this way, but like that is a good way to meet people.
Yeah, sharing information is big. People looking for jobs. That's I look like online and have for 25 years. So yeah, it's just human connection and trying to have a benevolent sort of, positive impact and being present and not just trying to have a transaction. And there's a million ways to do it. So we'll sum this up. How are we on time? Because this setup took my clock away.
You're good. It's 7:35.
Okay. So that's it. It'll come eventually. And we're at the sum up stage. But any questions or thoughts, or I mean, has this been helpful?
Because you're I guess switching jobs, like how much time can make sense?
There's a lot of, we have opinions about that. Oh my gosh, there's no shortage of opinions on how long people should slay unpleasant places. Or just, yeah. It used to be people be like, I need to see somebody stick somewhere 5 years before they make a move. Well, in tech, that is gone. That is gone. I mean, there are still some people that have that opinion, and like 2 years, plenty. You can make a move and not have no pain. No one's going to say a word. If you're looking every year, people are going to start thinking, even if there's really good reasons for it, that there's a problem, because they make all kinds of assumptions.
So if in a company, there are employees staying for 20 years, is that a good sign or bad sign? To me, it's a bad sign because they have not seen the other work, so they are stuck in their job and then they have no experience of other work.
Remember what I said about assuming? I mean, I don't assume. Like, I talk to the person and I see, because just because they've been in a place a long time doesn't mean that they're completely insular and that they have no idea about the world at large, okay? It's a concern I probe. But, and I think people, if you're in a good place and you're happy, I mean, making a change is stressful, okay? So you don't have to just do it because someone says, oh, it's time for me to check this Xbox stuff. I gotta leave. But you don't have to feel like you have to stay. This is very personal. You get to make these decisions. Just be prepared to speak to why you stay or why you leave, because we're working with a narrative always.
Yeah, but they may not give you proper reasons or answers. It's very personal, right?
It is personal, but you should be able to talk about this, because the way you frame the decisions you make is part of how they're going to make a decision about whether they want to hire you or not. So you have to represent your decisions, and you have to be able to explain choices they make in a way that makes sense. Or they'll go, I don't understand this person, zip, or I kind of don't like this guy. Whoop. So you kind of, it's part of the game. It's a sad thing, but it's reality.
So an observation that's been made to me by other people, I'm just curious to get your take on it, is that one of the reasons why people switch jobs much more frequently nowadays is because of wage stagnation. That people don't get nearly as much of the raises they used to, and there's even a recent, I think, an article by one of the financiers saying, you know, annual raises are a thing of the past.
Look, the people that leave every year, even if they pay a price, because people think, oh, job hopper, and I'm like, what does that mean in a world where there is no loyalty to the individual? Okay, what? Like, shut up. That's what I say. When my clients say, he looks like a job hopper, I say, you look stupid. I mean, I really do say that, because I'm like, why would they stay? Because you make a lot more money. I mean, in 5 years, if you make 5 changes, the person that stayed is way behind you. I mean, it's wrong. It sucks, but it's true. But, you know, you got to juggle both of those things. Those are 2 perceptions. But it's complex. There are still people out there that are like, I need to see someone that's been there 5 years. I'm like,
yeah, I think a lot of times, I mean, I don't know what the firms are, anybody in this room in particular, so please don't be offended by this. But frankly, with what we do right now, we are in so much demand.
yep.
If you're good at what you do, if you have the ability to learn and quickly apply and deliver results, then you are literally worth far more than your weight in gold, even more than my weight in gold. And so you should absolutely leverage that. Back to your earlier slide around negotiation. I'm not afraid to look somebody in the eye and go, look, I'm planning to deliver at least 10x in value in my salary, probably significantly more than that. Why are you arguing with me over another 10K a year?
Or even 1K. I mean, what's appalling to me is like, I'm like, we're quibbling over a couple grand? Yeah, that's insane. It's obnoxious. I shield candidates from those kind of discussions because I don't want my clients to embarrass themselves. I'm like, no, rude. Go back to the drawing board. It's rude. So yes, so you have the power. You're in demand. But, I mean, we live in, I mean, St. Louis, we're a little parochial sometimes. So we've got all these people with opinions, and you have to play that game too. But you get to, we all get to be successful and have good lives. And so this is my summary. I think, was this helpful? Was it what you were wanting? I mean, yeah. You can tell me how I suck. I want to be better.
You're always bigger picture than I picture. Like, you have some resume too. You're like, I'm gonna change your.
I gave resume too.
You did. I know there was. Yeah.
Fonts. Don't worry about them. No, I know. It's all about the narrative. Resumes are narrative. Right. I am all big picture in theory. I apologize.
No, it's great.
Questions?
Yeah, I have one question. To be specific, that.
Well, let me ask the guy behind, because you've asked a lot. I didn't, but that's a really good point. References is part of your orchard that you're gardening. You want people at every job that you've had, even if they're not your boss, that can speak to your work. Because sometimes, let's be honest, we're going to have a boss that we're not necessarily going to want someone to talk to, and I get that. We all have a few. So you keep in touch with those people. Some of these companies, they want reference. They want to talk to people from 10 years ago. I'm like, are you kidding? I mean, this is just nuts. This is a different world now. You're in a different world. But so if you can keep those, it's pretty common, and it's appalling.
The thing I found a lot recently is that a lot of companies, they told their own employees, if someone calls asking for a reference, only thing you can tell them is, Joe worked here from the
yes, liability issues. It's terrible. Yeah.
Even if you think Joe's the best thing that ever happened to your company,
Yep.
you can't even say that.
So the way that I work around, because I have some of the weirdest clients. I mean, ooh. And I mean, I try to do it's like charity work almost. You can't wait on making an offer to somebody because you talk to someone and you can't get information because they're legally unable to give that. So trust yourself. But that's sometimes you can do unofficial conversations that are not references. And I mean, it's amazing who people will know. I do not encourage this with my clients. I mean, this should only happen after an offer's been made and accepted, right? Because sometimes companies get a little bit free and easy with their backdoor reference checking, which is an appalling and unethical practice. Like you're coming in for an interview and they've called someone in your current company. What are you doing? Don't do that. Those are contacts that you want to definitely farm. Well, people are going to make assumptions, and I have recruiters that a lot of software people have tapped out of LinkedIn, right? Because it's gross, and Facebook, because they're gross. You can find me on there though. Railing about Facebook.
They're creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. Well, and arguably potentially traitorous, but we'll steer free of that. We won't talk about that. But so deal with people that make assumptions. And you might want to offset that and say, I don't have a LinkedIn profile, but here's information about me, or here's some people you can talk to. In the recruiter training I give, and in the company recruiting training I give, there are recruiters who will not talk to a candidate if they can't find them online. And I mean, my eyebrows have gone over my head, and I'm wearing these earrings. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I read it. It's a game system on getting contacts as possible so you can show up in service hire. So it's a system that encourages, I would say, bad behavior.
Absolutely.
So, I'm getting somebody hired. Well, they're spending their time getting the system.
Actually,
That somebody that I worked with 20 years ago, and I think he just wanted to add me to his LinkedIn contact account.
well, you don't even know sometimes they send out the invites because it's really gross.
Whether it was to carve out a really positive presence online. I mean, what the time you would not been using LinkedIn?
Write a blog.
Open source, start your own website. Yeah, have your own blog. I mean, you can control your own presence online far more effectively with your own web properties than you would ever be able to on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. You are absolutely beholden to some other giant faceless organization. If you have your own website, then yours.
They'll Google you and you'll come up, or they'll DuckDuckGo you if they have a clue. Sorry. So, but that help? Yeah.
So I think it's a good point where, somebody lost the contact and then they can't get the job, right? So regarding the recruiter, let's say if I went to a recruiter and I got a client interview, and the client interview happened, he didn't like me probably, or he said that there is a better candidate. But I'm interested in that job. I'm in the job. He had a bad day, didn't have the proper interview or whatever. If I go to the recruiter B, will it, and he goes to the client, will it help?
It depends on the amount of time that has passed.
So what I'm trying to say is that getting represented from recruiter A to recruiter B will make a difference.
Yes, and what I'm saying, it's a bad difference if it's within a period of time. Like most companies will there is an incredible amount of rules of engagement between companies and recruiters, contract jobs, especially with the big companies. And if you go to an interview and you don't do well, or you're passed over for whatever reason, and then your resume comes up again, some companies it doesn't matter because it's per job. But some companies, if you're repped by a different company within a year, you are blacklisted. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is try to pick and choose the recruiters who are going to rep you at particular companies and get a good feel for those. And other recruiters can rep you for other companies, but cross-pollination like that can hurt you.
Two recruiters putting you into the same position at the same company, right?
Yeah. And actually some like Monsanto, 2 recruiters can rep you the same day for 2 different jobs. That is not a problem, okay?
Same job.
If it's the same job and 2 recruiters, then you're in trouble. But some companies, it is not per job. Some companies is your repped blanket. So you have to know the rules of engagement. And that's a way to figure if you want to work with a recruiter. Because, and look, y'all, contracting is growing because companies, contingent workforce is growing because they don't want to pay for benefits and employee thing. I mean, it's huge. So you have to figure, and there's some great work. Some of these contracts are 3 years long and they pay great. So you have to know how to navigate the system, and you have to know how to talk to these recruiters that are sort of doorway to that. And that's why, like, I'm a little baby company, a one-man band. Monsanto is not going to give me their jobs, right? They're like, who are you? Just you. But that's why I have partners that are the big companies that are on those vendor lists. And I'm not like just begging work the job. I'm helping them not be so embarrassing as they deal with these situations, because the way they push at those limits matters to you, right? Like if they'll get a better bill rate so they can pay you more, you're happy. They need to have that same power. They need to fight just a little bit, enough to get the win for the candidate. So, but I work in those systems too. I don't just work on big companies that, you know, value me, because it's all very valuable. And those are great jobs. Like Monsanto or Express Scripts. Express Scripts, one of the companies everybody says, that's a terrible place to work. Well, it might be, or it was for a long time, but there's some bubbles of really awesome stuff happening there. So, what? Yeah, it was kind of scary for a long time, but I think things are changing.
Things are changing. Now
That's it. That's the deal. Well played, though. Really, the way you, that was very diplomatic.
Things are changing.
I have another question.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to.
Well, I
share.
also always have questions, so I'm not the right person.
That's all. It's all good. Go ahead.
So, you know, just say the recruiter tells me that you have to have references. So, you know, some companies I do not have references, or probably I didn't have a good experience there. I don't have experience. In that case, what I should do?
Here's the thing. Some recruiters are like, I need your references before I'll even schedule a conversation with you, which is really gross. I mean, but these are your contacts. You don't want to release them to the wild. What are they going to do? Call them and market to them? Probably. So, you know, gross. But what you could have someone that you have worked with that for those, I mean, I don't think that's a great practice. References should be, recruiters should request references at the appropriate time. And we should do the vetting another way, because we don't want to wear people's references out. So if a recruiter's on that early in progress or in the process, I would ask them why, and see if there's some way to work around that. But sometimes just process, and they're very process centered.
Yeah.
So
the references that I actually use, I mean, I haven't used a resume to get a job in a long time, so it's wildly out of date. But when I have, you know, the resume and I was using it to shop around, the 5 references that I included on there, they were people that I had worked with in the past who no longer worked in the place anymore. So both of us were outside of the company we worked in.
So they can talk.
So they can talk freely. And they're friends of mine. I know what they're going to say. Now, there was a time in my career where I would actually give people like 5 references, and I'm like, these people will talk so glowingly about me, and here's the 6th one. He hates my guts. They're like, why are you telling me that? Because I'm the kind of people I won't work with, because that guy's an asshole.
These are
That and my thinking is like this. Let's get feedback on that. If he gives me good reference, good for me, right?
well, it is, but okay.
Wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, no, that really go back. Anyway,
It can change. So once you're in the company, he might hate you, but when you come out and there's a separation, he might change your view.
That's true.
He might see somebody worse than you.
that is a novel approach.
Yeah.
That is
I have actually had people that when I worked with them, we weren't friends, and I thought, that guy doesn't like me at all. And then I found out through the grapevine, literally years later, oh yeah, we talked to that guy about you, and he did not think more positive. I'm like, are you sure you talked to this guy? Like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, I had no idea.
Assumptions.
Yeah.
Assumptions.
And another follow-up question is that sometimes the recruiters, you are that place, right? They get a feedback, so they send you to 2-3 places, right, for the interviews. So they get a feedback from client A, they use that feedback to client B, and then they use that feedback to client C.
I don't understand what you're.
Well, I have seen that I think for a client A, right? He didn't select for whatever reason, but he has a feedback. That I like this guy very well, everything is good. I will keep him as a grand person, but I will not hire him at this time.
Okay.
That's the feedback. Then with that feedback, I'm sent to another client. And then they give some other feedback. Then these feedbacks are maintained. And then based on that, the evaluation goes on instead of talking to it.
Well, I mean, we're all gathering information with every interaction that we have. Okay. So it's not just feedback from the clients that I'm using to decide if I'm going to work with someone or not. I'm deciding whether I'm going to work with someone or not with the phone call that I'm having with them or the coffee meeting I'm having with them. So, I mean, that's just we're human animals. Yeah, we are interacting and making all kinds of narratives up about each of us constantly in this room right now.
No, but I think the client feedback, meaning all the way you went to client side.
I don't want to keep people here. We can talk offline if you want about this. Okay.
Anybody else, any questions?
I wanted to ask, I see that career transition counselor many years ago, and there's this popular book, employers your parachute. She says, oh, don't go with that. That's not how employers operate at all, but it's like a seller. Really understand what's going on today.
The book that Lisa eventually writes will be the book I
I really like a strange mix of neuroscience and sales books, okay? And because I think about decision making, and I think about self-awareness. So I like psychologists, salespeople, and neuroscience, and people that talk about meditation. I mean, this is weird stuff, I know. So like, there's a book, Rhinoceros Success, which is like I used to have a blog called The Rhino and the Buddha, and it's by Scott Alexander. And it's good for asking yourself questions about your career. And it has nothing to do with tech. It's about your inner, facing fear and being aware and challenging yourself and, moving in fear. I also like When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. And it's, Buddhist stuff, but really good. And another book, The Trauma of Everyday Life, which is a psychologist, Mark Epstein. And then Jeffrey Gitomer, sales books. Wow, blow your mind. And there's another guy, Art Sobczyk, phone sales. This will help you on interview skills. So anything from him. This is a weird mix of books, but basically what you want to do is challenge yourself to move into things that make you uncomfortable. There's a really good book about edge states by a woman named Joan Halifax, who is also another Buddhist. Like, she worked with AIDS patients in the 80s, and she's written a book about dealing with uncertainty and kind of finding, I mean, she works with neuroscience a lot, because when we're in these uncomfortable places, which a job search is, very uncomfortable, you find out all kinds of things about yourself, and you're trying to decide what's going to make you happy. The more self-aware you are, the better off your decisions are going to be. And so those are the kind of books I like, not color repair, although it's a lovely book. But yeah, that's why sales books are great, because again, this is the whole shtick, and I trademarked this phrase. Geez, don't laugh. Positioning by listening, and this is really a stance that is effective in every facet of life. And if you know what they want, then you can figure out how to position yourself accurately, not lying, with what they're looking for. And then they buy from you. It's amazing. I mean, you don't have to sell.
I would say these aren't mutually exclusive. I actually read What Color Your Parachute in probably how many years ago?
Oh my gosh, yeah, but it's good. I mean, it's a good book.
Yeah, but you should have a clue what that's a useful thing to know. But yeah, like you said, the people that you're talking to, they're way more interested in what you can do for them than what they can do for you. Hopefully, you find that place they overlap. The only thing I would add to that is be open to the unexpected. I'm currently spending most of my time right now, about 50% of my time, doing training. I never expected this to be such a huge part of my career, and it turns out that I love it. I'm having a fantastic time, and I absolutely fell ass backwards. Didn't mean to do it. It just happened to me.
That's why you can't close yourself off from stuff. I mean, that is so important. Don't. That's right. I mean, but that's why.
First go around, I went to college. Of course, there's no jobs in there. There are, but there are 500 people in some small town in the middle of nowhere hoping to get you.
I majored in philosophy. All right, so that's why I'm so theoretical. But man, I'm a salesperson. Crazy. That happened. Wow. I backed into it too. But I love this. So I've got cards if anybody wants one. I will not force them upon you. I have boundaries. That's another thing. Recruiters should have boundaries. Lord, some of them.
You were talking to, were you joking about talking to
the what?
Well, you said something about talking.
Oh, I was kidding about the reactivity.
Sure about that because there are people that bring along here.
Y'all should come to Papers We Love, St. Louis. I host that. It's an awesome group. Awesome. Yeah, it's a group.
Also live streaming this, so video is online if you want to share with any friends.
Well, I hope that
YouTube.
That sounds like you think I totally sucked. So thank you.
So we have the space. You're welcome to stay and chat. But thank you so much, Lisa.
You're welcome. I hope
Thank
it was all right.